Auckland in the 90s, you might remember the sign up on Ponsonby Road. It was for Peter Chaplin's restaurant Musical Knives. Nowadays it's tucked out here in a warehouse where Peter's production kitchen is, and I've come out here to have my eyes open to the wonderful world of tofu. Peter Chaplin is an absolute genius when it comes to vegetarian creations. Peter proclaims that a meal should be nothing less than a masterpiece that involves all the senses, and today he's going to show me a dish that does just that.
It was always a task of mine, Kelly, really, to try and serve tofu in a way that people would really like. I mean, normally for a lot of people, their very first experience with tofu was absolutely hopeless. They said it was textureless, it was tasteless. So what we've got in here is my ground kuzu that's come out of my kurabachi here, my Japanese mortar and pestle. So now we've got our lovely hearts here, and I need to completely coat these in this kuzu, otherwise known as arrowroot, but this is very special arrowroot. It's got fantastic medicinal properties to it as well that I teach people in classes.
Oh, awesome.
It's really good for hay fever and migraines, all kinds of things.
It's a lot more coarse, isn't it?
It's a lot coarser, and depending on how far you grind it, what we're going to try and achieve today is make a really good texture with the tofu, and we're going to make a fabulous sauce to go with it to appease those two things and try and get over it.
Perfect.
So we've got our little deep fryer, our little pot of oil here, and certainly when you come to it, you really do need just to have a little test of the temperature of the oil. And the way to do that is just to get a little bit of your kuzu, just drop it in, and it should like that. It should just go straight across the surface straight away.
Yeah.
If it sinks even halfway and comes back up, it's not hot enough. Okay? And it's absolutely crucial. So in we go. We're all dusted. This is our organic firm tofu, dusted in kuzu, into our lovely little pot of oil here, and we're going to cook that for a couple of minutes until it's really nice and golden brown, and it's going to come out nice and crispy.
Cool.
Right, so whilst that's happening, we're going to do our little picturesque dressing of our plate here. And what I'm trying to achieve here is I'm trying to grab people's senses, and the first sense I'm after is I want their eyes, and I want them to look at this plate and just come back and have a really good look at it and say, yeah, look at this. We're going to get this down and bring all the other things in place as well. And of course, our second sense that we're after is going to be the smell, when the smell evokes and sort of comes up. And then obviously, thirdly, we want them to taste it, and I've got that taste. But that's the absolute objective of what we're doing.
So that's some wild rice?
This is wild rice with a little bit of pickled ginger. Just put through it, a little bit of blanched spinach, a few little roasted sesame seeds, and a little bit of pickled ginger.
These are trees?
It's our little broccoli trees.
Tree cutters in the house.
There we go. And you just get them to sit there. And I've just got a little bit of rocket on the other side of the plate here, just for a little bit of green. These, we just put into a little stack just on the edge. So it's kind of like a little lake, a little view, a little sort of reeds sort of coming around the outside. All right? And then I'm just going to finish off with a couple of big strips of just cucumber, really, and the whole thing is really just trying to be really fresh and visual, and I'm trying to entice people. I mean, I'm really just trying to entice them with the cuisine, and that's my little sort of picturesque little scene. Okay, so that's all set. Let's go and get our tofu and bring it down on the plate.
Excellent.
All right, so here they are, the lovely little beauties. All right, they get nice and crispy. You can feel they're crispy on the outside. Probably another 10 or 15 seconds, and you'll be able to feel with your spoon how crispy and crunchy they are. So crispy on the outside, and still be beautifully soft on its interior. Okay, so here we go. Perfect. And then we're going to bring them out onto our paper towel.
Oh, you can hear it too, eh? Put it on. Oh, cool. Nice and crispy. Oh, wow.
Okay, Kelly. Let's get them in with our lovely shiitake sauce, and we're just going to put a little bit down, and it should just sit here for us. Japanese demi-glaze this is, and we talked before about trying to make the tofu into a texture. This is the sauce that's going to give us the flavour that's going to completely come around the tofu and make it something really, really exciting. And you just sit these little hearts down into your sauce, like so.
Oh, beautiful.
Just drop them down. A little bit more of your sauce to come on the top. To drizzle it over, and just a little bit over there. Also nice to just put some through the broccoli to fall down into the rice, to season the rice as well. Okay, finishing off, little touches now. Just a little sprinkle of sesame seeds, okay. black and brown.
Wow.
And then our wonderful little pansies here.
Now these are edible.
Absolutely edible.
Perfect.
Absolutely edible. And of
They're
course
gorgeous.
they enhance the whole thing of being originally been a St. Valentine's Day dish. So you just need to finish it off with some flowers.
How pretty.
So there you go, Gil. That's your happy St. Valentine's Day dish.
Happy
Okay?
Valentine's to me.
There you go, 2011.
Baby, I love it. Knowing where my food comes from is really important to me. So I try to grow as much as I can myself in my little home veggie garden. I've just started getting into companion planting and I've found out that marigolds and calendulas are great insect repellents. So what I'm going to do is I'm just actually going to plant one because I had a space in the middle of this pop-up plant here, and I'm just going to loosen off the bottom and I'm going to plant this in the middle. So you can either have them around or plant them near. It helps keep all those nasty insect pests away. Alright, so I'm just going to grab some spinach, my rice and my tofu, and back to the kitchen. Baby, I love it. After the break, Peter's inspired me to create my own tofu dish, marinated tofu kebabs on wild rice. So I've just seen a Peter and he's inspired me to try something with tofu. Now, he talked about people saying it's tasteless and textureless, so I'm going to try and create a bit of flavour for the tofu with a marinade. We're going to start with the chilli, finely diced, so get all that in there. Some garlic. I've got some palm sugar here. I'm just going to finely grate that in. And then we're going into some rice wine vinegar. Pour in a couple of tablespoons. We have some olive oil, some good quality olive oil. That. Some soy sauce. And now I'm going to use a Horapito hit, which is an Attitude Foods product. Now, Horapito comes from a New Zealand native pepper tree. So it's quite interesting to use some of New Zealand's native herbs in your cooking. It also has organic sea salt in it as well. So we're just going to give this a mix up. Now this marinade is ready for the tofu. I've cut the tofu up into little cubes, as you can see here, and you just want to pop it into the marinade. So it all depends on how big your bowl is that you're marinating in to how much ingredients you need. So you just want the marinade to cover over the tofu. Excellent, so let's just whack them in there. You'll see that the tofu hasn't been covered by the marinade, so I'm going to add a little bit more liquid to it, a little bit more rice wine vinegar, a little bit more olive oil. And if some are still just poking out, you just want to halfway through flip them over. So you want to leave this into a fridge for at least an hour. Overnight is better. So I've chopped up some veggies for the skewers. My tofu's been marinating and it looks really good. You'll see the colour difference as well, so it means it's soaked up the marinade and it's going to be full of flavour. Now also, when you're looking for tofu, and especially for this recipe, you want to look for the firm tofu. And you'll see that this one's got little holes through it which help absorb the marinade better. You'll notice there's some tofu say firm, but you'll see that it's quite a silky film around the outside of it. So it just means that when you stick your skewer into it, it's just going to fall off it and it's going to be an absolute disaster. So I'm going to make the skewers now. I've been soaking my skewers in some water. Now this helps for when you heat them up, they're not going to split with your food on it. So soak them in water for about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and I'm just going to start threading some chopped capsicum on. I've got some red onion. Grab a chunk of tofu. And just any order, it doesn't matter, however you like it. Now you'll notice as well that the tofu is slightly bigger than the vegetables itself. Some tofu may not be because it's not going to be perfect, but you want to try and get it just slightly bigger because you want the tofu to have direct contact with the heat. Now a good tip with red onion, cut it up and soak it in some water. This just has to be cold water for say 10 minutes. Then take it out of the cold water and wrap it in a tea towel and give it a good squeeze. That will take away the initial real strong flavour of the red onion, but it will still give you that nice sweet red onion taste as well. So place that on. Like I said, any order, it doesn't matter. Mix them up. And there we go. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the leftover marinade, put it into a saucepan. We're going to bring it up to the boil and just reduce it a little bit. Now it does have oil in it, so it's not going to fully reduce, but I just want to use it so I can braise the kebabs with while it's cooking. Meanwhile, while we're waiting for that, let's get the pan on for the kebabs. Bring it up to a high heat, so you want a little bit of oil in it. So now it's time to shallow fry our skewers. So here we go. Be careful when pressing them in, chasing away. It's looking really good. Make sure that the oil's not too hot so that it splashes everywhere. Excellent, looking good. Make sure that they're golden brown. These are looking done, so I'm going to turn these off and I'm going to clear my bench and prepare my wild rice. So I've got my rice here. I've got a mixture of rices. I've got wild rice, I've got black rice, I've got some white rice. Now with that, I'm going to add some blanched spinach. Break it all up in your hands before you throw it in there so it's not in big chunks. Now blanching spinach, you only want to get some boiling water in a pot and then add your spinach for a couple of minutes. Take it out and refresh it straight away in some icy cold water. So chuck a good amount of that in. And we've got some pickled ginger, so chuck some pickled ginger through there. Now for our Kefa Kick, which is another Attitude Foods product. This has also got the organic New Zealand sea salt in it as well, so it's going to give you that seasoning. And if you smell it, you can really smell the Kefa lime leaf come through, which is going to give it a nice zesty flavour as well. So we're just going to give it a good sprinkle over. Perfect. Last ingredients for our rice is going to be some duka. Now it's duka or daka to some people. It's like potato or potato, who cares, you know, as long as you use it. And it's great with wild rice, it's great in salads, soups, it doesn't matter. So it's traditionally used with a good fresh bread like your Turkish bread or ciabatta, and you dip it into oil and then into the duka and eat it. So I'm just going to be putting it over this rice here to give it a good kick. Let's give it a good stir. Mix it up. So make sure you mix it well so that it comes through all the flavours. Now I'm just going to give it a little taste as well. Always got to check for seasoning. So you're going to make sure you get a little bit of everything on and that was good. Okay, now we need our kebabs. So I've got some paper towels here, and I'll place my kebabs on the top. And you want to drain all the excess oil on your paper towel. So there you go, so you got them all nice. Tofu is looking nice and brown, which is what we're looking for. So just make sure you drain all that excess oil because we don't really want that in our dish. Now for the rice. So we're going to plate up. So like Peter said, when you first bring out a dish, the first sense you use is with your eyes. So you pretty much taste the dish and smell the dish with your eyes first. You have a look at the presentation and then you smell it and then you taste it. All right, let's top it with our tofu. So nicely spaced, beautifully presented. Look at it, it's beautiful. Now, don't forget the sauce that's been reducing. Now you don't want to put too much of the sauce on, just a tiny little bit, just to give that extra little bit of flavour. Excellent, there you go. And there you have it, beautiful marinated tofu kebabs on a nice bed of wild rice. Coming up, you can't go wrong with a good hearty kiwi pie. I'll show you my recipe for beef and mushroom phyllo pie parcels.